All right, guys, it's time to vent a little bit more. This is the part that I hate. I hate this so much because it's so stupid and it's so counterintuitive. If you haven't been watching my save, I'll fill you in really quick. The thing that's happening in this save is that we have basically no way to make any sort of transfers at all. And this is because our transfer period is limited to 4 transfers a year. It only happens between July and like mid-August. I think there's about 5 weeks or so that you can have transfers in this game. You can only sign up to 4 players, period. And that's it. Basically, if you want to improve your team, you have to rely upon the players you develop at club, right? Now, it's not like there's a whole ton of really good players here in this league. A big part of the problem that we have is that we don't have a great reputation. So when we come across players that are not like inconsistent or don't have like the worst personality in the world, we can't sign them, not because we can't afford them, but because they don't want to come to a team that has such a low reputation, right? I've complained about this before. This is due to mistakes that were made when this editor data file was created. And as I've said before, this is kind of what happens when you have an editor data file that you don't actually play with. Instead, you just holiday over like 10, 15 years into the future and look at it and say, this looks pretty fun, right? If you sit down and play with this and go through it bit by bit, you realize that there's some problems. One of the problems is what we're about to see right here. This is the thing that drives me nuts. Hopefully you can see this. I made a request to improve the youth facilities, and the board says, at this time, we're unwilling to grant your request. However, despite the board's initial rejection of your request, we are willing to listen if you believe you can put forth a compelling case for it. Now, I am going to discuss this with the board, and we're going to get it passed. I know that it's going to happen because we've been on a major winning streak, and this is the way the Football Manager works. But I'll show you why I have a problem with this, right? This is the club finances. We're at $16 million. We were at like $7 million at the start. The reason why we keep growing is because we have like no expenses, right? I know I looked on the thread that's linked down below. I've read what was said about the wage budget. I know that it's too low, right? We're spending $20,000 a week out of our budget of $160,000 a week, right? And I know that there's an issue with the way that this is designed, and you know the pre-game editor is a little bit tricky when it comes to stuff like this, apparently. But the real problem that we have is that there's no reason to spend the transfer budget at all. I mean, if you look at the options that I have here, I could ask to increase the transfer budget or increase next season's transfer budget or increase the wage budget, but that makes no sense because we have so much money we're not using the wage budget, and we haven't even come close to spending our transfer budget, right? There are problems with the finances in this game in part because there's money that is collected here and there's no place to spend it. I've said this before, I'll say it again. If we try to get a work permit for a foreign player, they have to have a potential ability of 200, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's a total pain in the neck, right? What other board requests can we make? Well, we can get an affiliate club, but that makes no sense because unless we get a affiliate club in the United States, which would be a different school, all the affiliate club is going to do is it's going to allow us to loan players out. That's it. We're not going to have the ability to actually purchase players or to get them for a good deal. So, I mean, that's useless. New contract is useless. Build a new stadium is useless. And then we could add staff. There's nothing that we can do with this surplus of money. The only thing that we can do, and the only way that we can actually improve the club, is to try to slowly work on getting the facilities of the club that are useful for youth built up, right? We have excellent youth recruitment. That's the highest. We have excellent academy coaching. That's the highest. We have great training facilities. We can improve those, and great youth facilities, which is what we're trying to improve right now. But that's it. That's all that we can do. Our only other chance to try to improve things is by going over to the head of youth development and hiring some other guy. We've already got a guy who's a model professional, right? Close to model citizen. I know he's not. He probably could be better at this and that and the other, you know, but we can go take a look later on if we want to and hire a different head of youth development. I mean, you know, whatever. The difference between the model citizen and the model professional is pretty small. What you're trying to do is get away from guys who are like, you know, lack of determination, slack, and all of those other problematic personalities. We'll be just fine with a model professional. He has a professionalism of 20. That's the thing that we want to see in our youngsters, right? That's the most important part. So the only other thing that we can do to improve our youth intake and to try to make this stuff work, given all of the stupid restrictions that we're under, is to try to get the board to improve the youth facilities. And because it's Football Manager, the board will say no. This is a problem. This is a huge problem with the game. I'm going to say this right here. The way that Sports Interactive handles this isn't the editor data file, right? That's problematic enough. But the way that Sports Interactive handles this process itself is ridiculous and is awful and is boring and it's just a total waste of your time, right? There's no reason why the board is not going to improve youth facilities, right? I can't go back here and look at the finances and say, well, this and well, that. I have no option to make a case for the board. I can't look at, like the income and say, well, look, we have so much money that's coming in that's unaccounted for. Our expenditures are much lower than we thought. I can't point over here at the projection and say, look at how much money we're going to have in the future. We'd have even more if we could win, right? There are all these other things that we could do. And look, our transfer budget is going to go up in the future. We can't spend it anywhere, but I can't tell that to the board because there's no option to do so, right? The interactions in this game are so cut and dry that, it just totally defies logic, right? Again, when it comes to these interactions, I suspect that the people at Sports Interactive who have created these have not really sat down to playtest them and have not asked themselves after doing this day after day after day, how does the user think and how does the user react? This is the part of the game. This is the part of the Football Manager RPG that really, really needs to be improved. If you improve this, you're going to take this game from being a great selling game and turn it into a AAA franchise. Now, let's go discuss this with the board. You want to talk about your recent request? Yes, I think that we should invest in your youth facilities. We'd be doing ourselves a huge favor if we could improve our chances of developing high-level homegrown talent. I have no other option here, right? I can't say, look, take away the transfer budget and let's put it all into the youth. That's not an option anywhere. I can't say, hey, bozo, we can't hire anybody. We can't get any good players from abroad. We can only hire 4 players a year. We might as well invest in the youth. No, I have to do this one. And what do they say here? Just as I predicted, we know how important a strong youth development program is to club success, so we'll be more than happy to make that happen. We're glad that we've had such a productive meeting here. You know where else to find us if you want to talk about anything else. That's it. And there's a summary. They have agreed to do this. And as we're going to see right here, they've accepted this youth facilities improvement work, which will give us great youth facilities by the time that the transfer window is open again, right? What was the point of that? Why did I have to go through this? Why did I have to click on anything? It's obvious that this is what should happen, right? Is this a realistic interaction with the board? I don't think so. This is completely unrealistic because the board is not, paying attention to what the actual finances are. This is the problem that I have. This is the sort of thing that really, really will drive you nuts. It doesn't matter what kind of save you have and how deep into it you are. You will always run into this sort of problem. These interactions are so cookie cutter. They're so cut and paste. They're so cut and dry that there's really no point to having them. This needs to change. This needs to be fixed. We need to rethink the way that this is done. I would love to see something that's more like an RPG system. I would love to see something in which I can actually interact with characters that are run by AI. I know that AI works in this game because when I look at the animations, I can see my own players making decisions. I know that that is part of how the game works. This is different than a lot of other games that are much more basic and much more sort of, we just go by the ratings and that alone. I'm looking at you, OOTP. Football Manager is good in terms of its RPG aspects, but why is it that when I have interactions with the president, with the board, and with all of this other stuff, it turns into just click the right button and the right thing happens? I didn't even have a choice there. I just clicked on one button and then all of a sudden it worked and we're a hero and we have everything set up right. This is a problem. It needs to be fixed. It absolutely needs to be fixed. And it's been like this for years and years and years. One day I think it will be fixed, but I don't know if current management of Sports Interactive will actually make this happen. Talk to you later. Bye.